Frank!
Hey, honey! Hey!
What the hell are you doing?
We're streaking!
Frank, get in the car.
Everybody's doing it!
Now!
Okay. Honey, do you think KFC's still open?
All right, so happy almost New Year. Welcome back to the QC. I'm your host, Swanka.
And I'm Bree, a QC contributor.
So in today's video, Bree and I are going to be giving you our top 5 films of 2020 for a total of 10. We'll be working our way from least to best, although, as you can tell from the title, we like all these films. So Bree, why don't you kick us off?
All right, my number 5 this year was something really lighthearted and kind of on the goofier side. So I went with The Wrong Missy. It was that Netflix movie with that Adam Sandler came out with. It gave me the classic Adam Sandler movie vibes where the characters were familiar faces. There were a lot of really good cameos in it. And I thought the storyline was adorable. Just some mix-up shenanigans with David Spade falling in love with some chick at an airport and going on a date with somebody his grandma set up. And it just, calamity ensued. And it was very charming and sweet.
Yeah, no, I saw that one and I liked it too because as I was watching it, the only thing I could think is with that girl who was basically insane. We've all had that experience, I think, of having gone on a date or having met somebody that you think has the potential to murder you. So that was very fun, and yeah, I thought her role was interesting. So
well, she's good at that physical humor.
David Spade.
Yeah. Well, no, Lauren Lapkus or whatever her name was. She's good at that, like comical, where you're looking at her and the way she's acting is funny.
Absolutely, yeah. No, she's funny. I've seen her in a bunch of other stuff too, like in smaller roles. Mm-hmm. She's always very funny. So my number 5 film was The New Mutants, which I know is a bit of a hot take because I had an interesting experience with this where I saw it opening night. I actually loved it. I gave it a great review, which I stand behind 100%. But pretty much everybody else kind of hated this movie or said it was really bad, and I just really didn't get that. And I watched it again recently, and I re-uploaded my review with some more context after seeing Wonder Woman, and I think it's a great movie. I mean, it's got a great story. I think it's well acted. You can tell that there's some issues with the production where it got delayed, and they did some reshoots, I think, and you can tell all that stuff went on behind the scenes, but ultimately, I think it has a really good story. It has the ending, I think, is great. So I stand behind it. I highly recommend if you haven't seen it, check it out, read my review, and let us know in the comments what you think.
Yeah, that sounds good. That's one that I would have to catch still. I didn't see that one, but I'm a big Mutant fan, so I've got to check that one out still. My number 4, I went with Chemical Hearts, which was a Amazon Prime movie. It's Lily Reinhardt and Austin Abrams, and he's like kind of newer on the scene of acting with like coming out in a lot of big roles, but it's just a really cool story of teetering on the edge of being in high school and becoming an adult and like real heartbreak. And these kids are experiencing, for her, Lily Reinhardt's character, she was in a wonderful relationship with a guy that passes away and she's severely injured from that. And he kind of comes into her life and has never really had heartbreak, and kind of seeing them navigate a new relationship and dealing with loss and future and being an adult. It was really, really heartwarming, and is one you need tissues if you're going to watch it for sure.
Gotcha. Okay, cool. I'll have to check that one out. So my number 4 film is The Last Tree, which is basically it's a coming of age story about a young boy in London. It's a British film, and basically he's torn from the only family he's ever known to go back to another family, and kind of his experience trying to adjust in a foreign environment. And it's a great movie. It's beautifully shot, really great soundtrack. I actually found out about this one through our partnership with Quelly TV. Quelly TV is a streaming service which kind of focuses on the diaspora and movies and TV shows made by people of color. And again, I would never have heard of The Last Tree if not for having worked with Quelly TV, and I discovered it, and it's actually now on my top 5 list for the year. So highly recommended. You can actually go and download the Quelly TV app on your streaming platform of choice, whether it be Apple TV, your Amazon Fire Stick, and you can do a free 7-day trial and watch that film today.
So very cool. My number 3 was Bad Boys for Life. I loved the franchise, and when they were coming out with that, I didn't have very high expectations of it, but I thought it really delivered. I thought that seeing the how they've aged and seeing that their relationship, the banter and the dynamic between them is just still so strong, and the storyline was so cool, and like that it had some magic and like the whole Miami thing, and seeing it's just beautifully shot, and I really enjoyed the magical aspects of that storyline with her coming back into his world, and it was very interesting. There was a lot to unpack with those characters in that movie.
Cool, good stuff. So my number 3 film was Project Power, which is one I feel it came out at the beginning of the year, but because 2020 is the most crazy year in the history of ever, it feels like it came out like 3 years ago. But starring Jamie Foxx, Joseph Gordon-Levitt, great action, great special effects, great music. It does something different with the superhero trope, with the whole idea of taking a pill to have powers and all that kind of stuff. And it's just rare. I talk about this in my Wonder Woman review, where you just feel like these movies are coming out, superhero movies specifically, and they just all feel the same. And then the people making these movies in a lot of cases aren't trying to do anything different. And Project Power tried to do something different, and by and large succeeds. The biggest test for me of a movie of how good it is, will I ever watch it again? And I feel like Project Power is something where, I can go and watch that again tonight and be no big deal. Whereas like with Wonder Woman, just because it's timely to talk about it, I don't think I'm ever going to watch that again.
Yeah.
So, as an aside, what did you think of Wonder Woman?
No, I thought it was charming. I thought that their chemistry between Gal Gadot and Chris Pine is lovely, but ultimately it was just a run-of-the-mill, same old story. It was cool to see Kristen Wiig in a different light and seeing her doing something outside of just a comedic role. And I look forward to seeing her in other things more so now, but yeah, we can pass on Wonder Woman this year. I thought Project Power was awesome, and I really liked seeing Machine Gun Kelly in a role where he was so cool. He had such a cool role in that, and just the graphics and stuff I thought were awesome. I really enjoyed Project Power too. My number 2, I put King of Staten Island, which I was really surprised when I saw that so many people were dogging on this movie, because I'm a Pete Davidson fan. I think that he's hilarious, and I don't know what people didn't like about it. I thought that also the dynamics between him and Bill Burr were great. Marissa Tomei being in that, she's always a pleasure to see. She's just a delightful little actress. But the whole storyline of somebody with a past and navigating their future into figuring out who they are and having new characters come into their life, I just thought was really charming. It was very sweet and funny. So that's always a good combination.
Yeah, I need to watch this one. I love Bill Burr. He's one of my favorite comedians.
Yeah.
And Pete Davidson he's one of those guys where I understand his shtick. Like, he's funny sometimes, but there are times as well on SNL where I'm like, he doesn't feel that funny to me. But I'm gonna give it a shot, especially now that it's on this list. I feel like I've seen the advertisement for it so many times and never clicked on it. But that's what I'm gonna try to get to sooner rather than later. So yeah, good stuff. All right, so my number 2 is Extraction, which is really just a very typical kind of action movie. The reason why it's on this list is Captain America: Winter Soldier is my favorite MCU movie of all the MCU films, and I stand by that. To this day, like I feel like it has the best story. I feel like it's the best movie in terms of just being a standalone movie and not having to be a part of the whole MCU. Like, you can just watch that movie by itself. It's really enjoyable. It also, in my view, has the best action choreography of any MCU film. And the director, the person that did the stunts for that movie directed Extraction, and you can tell. And I think, I'm super excited for the sequel they're going to do. I think Chris Hemsworth is, he's electric, and he's a great actor, and he carries the film. And it's kind of loud and dumb, but it's really fun. It's actually got a good story, but no one's watching Extraction for the story. You're watching it to see Chris Hemsworth like take out like nameless goons across the world. So really enjoyable. A1 action choreography, probably the best action choreography of a Western film that I can think of in recent memory. So if you know of another film that has better action choreography made in the U.S., let us know in the comments, because I can't think of one. So
I enjoyed that too. It was like just a raw, like powerful. It was a cool movie to watch. It made me want to like get up and go hit a punching bag or something, like feel my own strength being a badass. That would be cool. That's great. That was a good one. My number 1 was Invisible Man, which also seems like it came out a million years ago now. That was like one of the last movies that I saw in the theater before everything shut down, and it just struck me so hard. The everything about it. Elizabeth Moss is phenomenal. The whole, like, I know it all came at like the Me Too movement time stuff, where it was very much like this woman who people are looking at like she's a crazy person, and we can't believe this crazy person. And for it to just flip itself around how it does, it was so good. And the bodysuit that he wears with all like the fiber optic military grade cameras and stuff. I mean, the details of this movie, every little intricacy, it was a beautiful thing to watch because of every little motion that he made. And it was just so cool. It was so cool. It's one of those things where you just sit back and you just keep saying the same thing over and over again. Like, that was awesome. Can you believe it? Can you believe it? It gives those vibes for sure. But I really liked her performance in that, and everyone's performance in that was really solid. Loved it.
Yeah, I heard good things about that one. Again, I'm embarrassed I actually didn't see it, but I heard really good things about it, and I heard that it really was a movie where you think Invisible Man and you think a certain thing, but then you go in, it's so much better than that, and like hit so many different other factors of being an enjoyable movie outside of just being like kind of like a dumb, old school horror movie, you know what I mean? So like it's got like some psychological thriller aspects to it, you know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So which is
it leveled up for sure.
Good stuff. Cool. So my number one film of the year, which I actually just saw a few days ago, is called The Sound of Metal, and this stars Riz Ahmed, and it's basically the story of a guy. He's a reformed drug addict, and he's a drummer in a band, and his girlfriend, longtime girlfriend, is the lead singer of this band, and he discovers that he's losing his hearing. And this film is basically the story of him dealing with, coping with, and figuring out how to live a life where he went from somebody who can hear and is has a career that really relies on his ability to hear to really the trauma of becoming deaf. And this is one of just Riz Ahmed is just he's just a force of nature, and he's the one that makes this film what it is. And I really enjoyed it. I think it's one of those films where as you're watching it and you kind of, or even when you hear someone describe the synopsis like I just did, it sounds like one of those Oscar bait films, and it kind of is in some ways, but when you're watching it, it doesn't feel like that. Every year there's a few movies where you watch them and you're like, wow, they made this film. They're trying to win an Oscar with the way with the way they wrote this or filmed it or whatever. This I feel is going to get Oscar nominations, but it's not heavy-handed about it. I think Riz Ahmed, again, it's very sad, but very realistic portrayal of what it might like and what it might be like to lose your hearing, which as I'm watching the movie, I'm thinking to myself, that would be pretty horrifying to like lose your hearing. It's being deaf is something that the movie actually is trying to send the message that it's not necessarily a handicap, it's just something that you have to deal with. So I'm not trying to say that being deaf is in and of itself a bad thing, but for someone who's been able to hear their entire lives and then lose their hearing and potentially loses their career as a result, that's pretty horrifying and pretty sad, and the movie really captures that, and Riz Ahmed's performance really sells it. So if you haven't watched that movie, I highly recommend that. So
I enjoyed that. I just watched that a couple days ago, and it was understated, and I think that because it wasn't so in your face, what you said, 100% it's going to get noms, but it was not this in your face broadcast everywhere. Watch this movie, it's the next greatest thing. And it was haunting. It was hauntingly beautiful to see somebody struggle like that in a reality. It was really cool. He captured that character so well. He did such a good job.
Gotcha. Cool. So can I ask you, so this is we're going to go off script for a second. Can you tell us maybe one of the movies that you thought was the worst of the year that you saw?
Ooh, one of the worst movies of the year that I saw. Oh, my brain. I'm trying to think of anything else I saw this year. What didn't I like? I'm sure there was a lot. I can think of TV shows I didn't like off the top of my head, but a movie I didn't like. Yeah,
so as you're thinking about that, I'm gonna say mine, and it's really it's a movie called Fat Man, which I feel like nobody saw. You probably haven't heard of it. So nope. It stars Mel Gibson, and basically he's Santa Claus, but he's like Santa Claus, like modern, like. And basically, like, he carries a gun, and like nobody actually calls him Santa in the movie, but it's basically about this kid who it's supposed to be set in like the real world, right? But Santa supposedly exists. So this one kid gets a lump of coal. He's like 12 years old, gets a lump of coal, and he literally hires a hitman to kill Santa Claus.
Oh my God.
which on paper sounds like the most amazing movie you'd ever see. And when I saw the trailer, I was like, oh my God, I have to see this. And it was so bad. I mean, I don't know. I've watched a couple other reviews by people who said that they enjoyed it and found something in it for them. I thought it was terrible, and like I was shocked at how boring it was because the premise sounds so amazing.
Sounds like it'd have a lot
But,
of like action and leads up, but that's fine.
Yeah.
I'm glad I skipped out on that one then.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Yeah. But yeah, no, that's pretty much our top 10 for 2020. 2020 has been, it's an unprecedented year for movies. There just hasn't been a lot of new releases compared to what we would get in a normal year. And as far as blockbusters, really, there's only been really two: Tenet and Wonder Woman. Outside of that, it's been a lot of like a lot of the smaller films that probably wouldn't have much of a theatrical impact anyway. So, hopefully 2021 is different. But that's our list. Any final thoughts, Bree?
No, this was great. Thank you for having me on today. I'm
Good
really
stuff.
looking forward to this new year and all the good things coming for everybody. I wish you all a happy new year.
Thank you. Yeah, happy New Year, everybody. Keep it locked to the QC for all your entertainment review needs. TheQuickCritic.com. We are Real Quick Critic on Instagram and The Quick Critic on Facebook. I'll have all that stuff on the screen. But yeah, thanks for listening, and we will see you at the next one. Peace.
Thank you.